Hi, this is Chuck Oliver with this week's Hidden Wealth Solution Review. Well, don't have a Wiley Coyote moment. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers said, and I quote, "Having already run off a cliff edge, but still blissfully unaware of the sudden crash that's about to happen." Folks, that's what's been going on in our markets, from banks failing, the Fed just running up interest rates at the cost of just ruining our economy. And it's just wreaking havoc and causing chaos to retirees. In fact, the USA Today had a good article out I talk about on Hidden Wealth Radio this weekend. New retirees, how do you survive with, crushing inflation, rate hikes, and bank failures? Fidelity came out and said that retirees are now kind of in the most conservative posture that they've been in, and they're not keeping pace because a lot of them have gone to cash. In fact, money market rates have hit all-time highs this week. Institutional hit $2.2 trillion put into cash money markets, and the amount of money market for consumers hit an all-time high this week of just over $5 trillion, folks. And many of you have reached out and said, at about the time that it seemed safe to go, right, to get out of the market, right, because of the market's deterioration and volatility, to go into the banks, right, at least knowing we're not losing. Obviously, we're losing, as they'll say to me many times, right, to inflation, but we don't know a safe place till we learn what I'll teach you this Tuesday at retirementprotector.com that provides a solution to taxation, inflation, and market deterioration. I want to teach you how to protect yourself from all of those. Don't let the Fed create a fiasco to your retirement. Don't let this uncertainty of this volatile market, right, the Federal Reserve and bank failures, basically don't let that ruin your retirement. It's time to reinvent retirement and recession protect your retirement and your savings. Folks, I think of clients that I'll teach that learned from the same thing that I'll be teaching this Tuesday at retirementprotector.com, that they're either approaching these ages or they're in these ages where the government is starting to force people out of their retirement accounts called required minimum distributions. And here's the sad fact. The longer you wait, the more tax you're going to have to pay. So whether you're trying to get to retirement or better through retirement, right? Think of the risk of someone retiring right now, because many of you have reached out. Like, how do we sustain and maintain our livelihood, Chuck, and preserve our lifestyle and our legacy? Well, it's learning things such as indexing, where you have unlimited upside, zero downside. But it's also getting rid of the taxes, folks. When you think about what the Fed's doing, crushing our economy to just try to target less inflation at the risk of just having us go off this cliff, right? Like the Wiley Coyote moment, right? Blissfully unaware of the crash that's about to happen. This is what's happening. And I want to teach you how you can prevent it, right? Because when you put thousands upon what now is predicted to be maybe 2 million people out of work, that's fewer people paying into taxes. A government that won't quit spending, a government that doesn't know how to run the economy by raising interest rates, even after banks failed, and even the contagion going over and obviously causing havoc on European banks, still this week raised 0.25%. Within minutes of the announcement, the market plunged over 500 points. In fact, the market's down, I think they said, the last 3 out of the 4 weeks, all to try to drive everything down to this inflation rate that many top economists are saying is not even possible without just completely crippling and ruining our economy. Well, folks, don't let that ruin your retirement, because what happens is when you continue to spend, think you're going to spend your way out of it, right? And you've got fewer people employed who aren't able to contribute towards taxes, the government's going to have to expedite raising taxes at a greater and faster pace. Well, learn what you can do to take advantage, right, of getting rid of inflation because of staying ahead of it by eliminating unnecessary taxation, right? Living on 3 or 4% at the bank, folks, isn't going to get it done. And granted, it may not be losing, but what about getting good double-digit returns? One of which I'll share with Mike and John and Yolanda, all learned this week. Mike said, look, I'm 3 years away from the government forcing me out of this money that I don't need. But I said, Mike, I understand that, but the government does need it, and they figured out a way to legally take it. Learn how you can legally eliminate them from taking it. One strategy I'll teach you this Tuesday allows a deduction. It's a top-line deduction that you can use to offset your taxes. And where would those taxes come from? Well, if it's your wages, great. Lower your overall taxes. Redirect that tax savings into something that they can't tax you again. I'll teach you that. It's called the Roth alternative. But what about those of us that have worked so hard in putting money away into these ticking tax time bombs to get that money untaxed before it taxes us to the max? So by using and converting from IRA to Roth, because there aren't any required distributions on a Roth IRA, or at least until the government hasn't found a way to concoct that yet, is using this deduction to untax this not yet tax money so that there is less and ideally no required minimum distributions, which means less tax to you and less tax to your family. John and Yolanda were in a different situation. John's already been drawing his RMDs for several years now, and his wife now has to start her RMDs. They already know the crushing impact of taxes to them, and they said, look, teach us. Folks, I'll teach you as well. We were able to show them how to not only take otherwise spendable taxes and put it somewhere where the government can't tax it again, it can't be deteriorated from the market, lost to taxation or inflation. Staying ahead of inflation and getting rid of taxation, folks, is the name of the game. On top of that, how they untax the money that's not been taxed yet. All recession protection and proofing the protection of their retirement savings by getting rid of unnecessary taxation, which helps them stay ahead of inflation and preventing market deterioration. Folks, you work hard for your money. retirementprotected.com, retirementprotected.com.